All musicians are thieves. That might sound harsh, but it's true. Every note we play, every melody we create, every song that lingers in our minds, none of it is truly ours. And yet somehow it is. You see, music just doesn't appear from nothing. It is borrowed, reshaped, and reimagined, like an old story retold in a new voice, or a familiar painting repainted in different colors. And I get it, if you think that this sounds dramatic, keep watching, because by the end of this video you might start listening and hearing music differently forever. The first point I wanted to talk about is the ancient art of stealing. Let's start with the simple truth. Every musician is a collector. They gather sounds the same way painters gather colors. Blues came from field songs. Jazz then stole from the blues, or borrowed. Rock then borrowed some things from jazz. Hip-hop then sampled rock. And electronic music mixed it all. Take Beethoven for an example. The opening of the Fifth Symphony, that famous dun 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 dun. I know I butchered it, but here's the actual one. That song wasn't born in his mind alone. He borrowed rhythmic ideas from his predecessor Mozart, and even others like Bach, and just in general the world around him. Now you fast forward it a few centuries and now you see it in hip-hop. Producers take old records, chop them up, rearrange them, and suddenly a 1950s soul song is fueling a rap anthem. Kanye West is one of the best examples. This skill helped him develop some of the best rap albums of all time, like The College Dropout, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and especially Graduation.
I don't like the feel of this.
Some call it theft, but most call it genius. But the truth is, music has always been a game of passing notes from one generation to the next. The second point I wanted to talk about is called the Symphony of Influence. In classical music, people like to believe the myth of a lone genius, the composer locked away in a candlelit room, creating something never heard before. But even the greats, Chopin, Debussy, Beethoven, all found inspiration from what was and came before. Debussy's impressionist harmonies, he actually took them from the gamelan music of Indonesia, and this was after hearing it at the 1889 World Fair in Paris. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Rachmaninoff. I hope I got it right and I hope I didn't butcher it. But for him, another thing I'm going to butcher, his famous piano concertos, I don't know how to say it, but those deeply influenced by the Russian Orthodox chants that he used to listen to growing up in the church. They didn't just create, they listened, absorbed, and then transformed. I know these are all old examples, but I'm saying these examples because in a way they were all music time travelers, basically carrying echoes of the past into the future. The third point I wanted to talk about is the fine line between inspiration and theft. Of course, not all borrowing is innocent. Some musicians take a little too much and actually just copy in general. An example was Sam Smith's Stay With Me, and he actually copied Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down. That right there actually started a lawsuit. Or maybe when Pharrell's Blurred Lines sounded a little bit too similar to Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It All Up. And guess what? That caused another lawsuit. Also, quick note guys, I can't play any of these songs because of copyright, but anyways. The thing is, where do we draw the line? If two songs share the same chord progression, is it considered theft? What if the rhythm is the same? What if the melody reminds us of another song that came before, even though it's unintentional? Guys, let me actually show you an example since I actually have a piano right here. So look. That's a C major chord and that's used in almost every song that we hear. That's another one. Here's two more. So those four songs are actually in some of the biggest songs that we have ever heard, some of the biggest hits. So you could consider it that every artist in a way is stealing from another because they're using those same chords. But the question is it just theft or the language of music? Another quick example of the fine line between inspiration and theft is actually in hip-hop again. Some of the biggest rappers of our generation like Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, they all actually steal lyrics from each other, but it could actually be considered in a way of paying homage. A great example is honestly any Kanye song, and especially a Drake song. I know there's not a lot of Drake fans these days, but an example is in one of his songs called Chicago Freestyle. There was a little bit of controversy because people were mad that he actually used Eminem's chorus on the song Superman.
But I do know one thing, no. Women, they come, they go. Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday, yo. Maybe I'll love you one day, maybe we'll someday grow. Till then, just sit your drunk ass on that runway on this one way.
You could either see it in a way of he is paying homage to Eminem, or he's just blatantly copying his lyrics. I mentioned Kanye as well because he also does similar things in many of his songs, and also even Kendrick Lamar. And a lot of people universally believe Kendrick does it in a way to pay homage, like saying lines that Tupac has said, or people like that. The point is, by doing this, they allowed themselves to create some of the biggest songs of our generation, and without actually taking inspiration and homage, we wouldn't have gotten these hit songs. The fourth point is going to be brief because I'm just going to talk a little bit about how jazz specifically has used this strategy and also made some of the best music that we've ever heard. If I said classical composers are real life music time travelers, then jazz composers are really just thieves in real time. If you really think about it, jazz improvisation at its core is really just an instant conversation with the past. A jazz pianist hears a little snippet from an old record, twists it and reshapes it, so then it can just sound like a fresh new song. If you ask any jazz pianist, any great jazz solo, it's a blend of ideas, borrowed rhythms, and spontaneous creation. The magic isn't in inventing something from nothing. It's in actually taking what exists and making it your own. The last point, which is the most important point of all, is we are all thieves, even as listeners. That's where it gets interesting. Musicians are the only thieves. You, the listener, and me are one too. Every song you hear becomes part of your story. A memory that reminds you of childhood. A song that takes you to a place that you haven't been in a long time. You steal these moments and make them yours. I believe that a piece of music belongs to the world the moment it's heard. That's why a song written 300 years ago can still move us today. Because music isn't just sound, it's memory, emotion, and connection. And the best part of it all is that it never truly belongs to anyone. It moves forward, borrowed by each generation. So to conclude, yes, all musicians are thieves, but not in the way you think. We don't steal because we lack ideas. We steal because we know that music is actually much bigger than us. It's a never-ending conversation, a shared language, and a bridge between past and future. And maybe, just maybe, the best thing we can do as musicians is to just keep stealing. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and comment if you can connect to this. I'd love to know each of you who watch my video and really just build a strong community of people who enjoy music in general. So, hope you have a great day. See ya.